So, welcome to the studio today, Moira. So, absolutely lovely to have you here as one of the students that have done the Akashic Record training with me. And I know I've got a lot of people lately that have asked me, what is it like? They want to know a little bit more before they sign up to do the actual workshop. So, I thought the best people to tell them what it's like is the people that have been through it, and it's not just me telling them what it's going to be like. If we can hear from other people, then it's really very helpful. So, well, I guess my first question is, or would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what inspired you to take this course and where we?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Moira Camino. So I run Wonderful You Healing. So I'm a healer, a channeler guide, and a teacher as well. So I would say that I already had been doing healing for a long time. And what's interesting is that I think it was during lockdown, wasn't it, that we did the courses? I think it definitely was. I can't remember which year exactly it was because I have a bit of a haze in those years. But I remember thinking, you know, what is there in life? Is this, I'm just going to be a healer and then I'm just going to grow old and die? That kind of thing. It was an odd feeling, not depression, but just it just was a thought, right?
Yeah.
And I think we were talking because we'd known each other from the past, healing wise. You were saying, oh yeah, Akashic Records, Akashic Records. And I went, yeah, I really want to do Akashic Records. And you were saying, no, yeah, do the course, do the Merkaba first. I was thinking, oh, I don't know what the Merkaba is, but I ended up doing the Merkaba. I thought, oh my God, I'm so glad I did. And I ended up teaching the Merkaba, and then I ended up doing more with you and doing the Akashic Records. And it was mind blowing because actually, just before I did the Akashic Records with you, I started in a mediumship group with a group of people. So I love mediumship. I go to mediums a lot, been to them since I was 17. And I remember doing this, being in this group, and it was quite hard work and all the rest of it, but it was lots of fun. And this woman saying to me, yours is in a higher level. She said, nothing against mediumship, but yours is in a higher plane, higher vibration. And that's when I then ended up doing Akashic Records. I thought, no, yeah, Akashic Records is the one for me. Because it's more about soul reading rather than the other side of things of mediumship. Not mediumship is always psychic, but with the Akashic Records, it just fitted me a lot better. And also because I was already working with my guides, etc. It just felt it resonated with me personally really, really well. So I was
That is,
delighted.
yeah, so that is such an interesting subject that you brought up, the difference between psychic and mediumship and the Akashic records. And I have put together a blog post on this and a vlog as well. But
Mm.
I think it's quite interesting what you would call the differences, because I've talked about the differences. So would you say that the Akashics is more about transformation at a soul level, and changing what you're doing at a soul level, and then the outcome affects your everyday finances and who you end up with and the house and all that. Whereas a medium will just tell you um, who you're likely to end up with. Is that what you mean? Is that what
So
you?
the way that I describe it when I'm speaking to clients the first time, I'll say to them, have you had a psychic reading? Then most of them will say yes. And I'll say, okay. So with a psychic reading, they might say to you, you're going to be driving a yellow car in 3 years. I said in the Akashic Records, my record keepers and guides are always saying to me, depends on the timeline. I said, you can ask me a question about the future, but you're not going to get a black and white. They don't give you black and white answers like you would do if you were having a psychic reading. And it depends on what healing you do between now and then. That depends on which timeline you're on. So they're not being difficult. It's just that they some literally a lot of the time they cannot give a yes no answer because it depends on the path that you take.
Yes, the Akashic record keepers and guides are always telling us that everybody has freedom of will, free will,
Mm.
and therefore you can make changes. And but a psychic is picking up a possible outcome for you, so
Yes.
that they are picking up a possible outcome. And that's why some people who want to discredit this work that we do will say, oh, you see, I was told that it was going to be a yellow car and it's actually pink, so it doesn't work. Psychics are nonsense,
Yes,
rubbish. So that's why, because that something changed within that. uh, but
absolutely.
but I like psychics and I like
Oh,
medium.
same here. I love them. Absolutely love going to them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Mm.
very, very interesting, and they reveal a lot that sometimes is in your blind side, so you can't see it for yourself, which is more
Mm.
fun.
I'd say the difference as well, though, with the Akashic record reading is that I've always found whether I've had a reading from another Akashic record reader or giving a reading, it's really, really uplifting. So you're not looking for the bad and the wrong. And if there is something bad and wrong in their lives that they're picking up and they're telling me, for example, so I always say to them, I'm not psychic, so tell me roughly what on earth it is you want. Once the Akashic record keepers and guides have gone in and said whatever they want to say at the beginning, because we don't go in obviously and ask questions or say anything at the beginning without them speaking first. But yeah, it's really, really uplifting for the soul, and they feel heard and held by their guides and guardians and loved ones on the other side as well. And that's where it's so, so, so different to mediumship reading.
It is.
Mm.
It is. And I have to say that I never used to be moved to tears before I started this work, opening the Akashic Records. And now I have to have a box of tissues on my all the time.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
I find what happens is when I open somebody's records, all of a sudden the veil shifts and we move the veil apart, and suddenly we can feel this beautiful, gorgeous energy coming in, this unconditional love coming in for the person.
mm,
And I can't hold it in my body. It's too much. So the
mm,
tears are running down my face, but it's beautiful because it's love, and
yeah,
I'm moved to this place of emotion. And
yeah,
generally, the people that come for the reading feel exactly the same, and they weren't expecting to.
mm,
So that's been very good and interesting. But I think the reason I brought that up is that it is a reading for soul expansion and understanding who you are at a soul level, rather than just finding out, should you
absolutely,
take that job, or you can still ask, should I have take
yeah.
this job, or should I move to this country, or that sort of thing. But yeah, I think it
I think
is
it leaves it much more open, doesn't it? But in a nice way where they feel they're deciding, depending on what avenue they take, what choices they make. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Mm.
So, just going back to the workshops that you did with me, I was just wondering if you could share a moment during that workshop that you felt particularly powerful or transformational for you. And
Yeah.
I know you mentioned the Merkaba. Maybe it was that, or what. I'm not going to put words in your mouth.
I would say, well, Merkaba was the first one, and then I did the Akashic Records readings, I think soonish afterwards, can't remember, a few months or something like that, a few weeks. Merkaba just felt like all the doors started opening. So that's why I absolutely highly recommend that one, and never ever to skip the Merkaba. And I know you don't let people skip the Merkaba anyway, but it would be just you wouldn't have the key to the door properly if you didn't do that. And then with the Akashic Records, it just felt like you're anchoring in really your higher self, your guides, etc. And yeah, I just found it absolutely amazing. It changed everything. It changed the way that I work as well, because I already did channeled healing. Um, and with being in someone's, I always now go into someone's Akashic records before I start a channel healing. So Akashic record reading is separate. That's just an Akashic record reading, which is amazing. But if I do channeled healing, then which quite often people might want to go on to do channeled healing if they've got blocks. I go into their records first, we open them up. So I'm constantly checking with the record keepers and guides. Have we finished this? Do I need to do any more? What else do I need to add? That kind of thing, to make sure that it's all very complete, and they can help to, although I'm very clairvoyant when I go and do channeling, it completes it, really. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, you're
Mm,
not the first person to say that to me. So I have a lot of people that do hypnotherapy and then they come for the training to do the Akashics as well. So that when they do the hypnotherapy, they can understand why this person has this sleep disorder or this back pain or this whatever it is that's coming up, or unhealthy relationship with foods perhaps, or
mm,
emotional stuff. And we can often trace it back into timelines, um, past timelines that affect this current lifetime. Uh,
yeah.
so I think that's one of the good things. But I love that you do the channeled healing for the people, because a lot of people come to me and say, so if I have an Akashic record reading, will the guides just tell me all these problems that I've got and then leave me with these big problems? Now I know. But yeah, so the way they work through you, and that's what I find so interesting, is I've taught a lot of people to open the records, and then record keepers and guides tend to bring to them the people that need their gifts and healing as well. So for me, it's karma clearing. People that come to
Mm,
reading, 99% of the time they need a karma and ancestral clearing, which they receive that in the Akashic Records reading.
mm,
But then they might need to also do the Merkaba, which I teach, or like in your case, you would need to do a channeled healing for them.
yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah.
I remember you did a channeled healing for me once, and it was very interesting,
It
and
was.
definitely moved some blocks around, shifted some of the puzzle pieces around so that I could get on with
Mm,
different things in my life. Amazing, amazing.
thank you. Yeah, no, I find it absolutely amazing. Really, really good. And that's a lot of people that come to me are asking me what are my past life blocks. So then I can go into their records, find the past life blocks, find what the core issue is, because I also do theta healing as well as channeled healing when I'm doing the channeled healing. And that's when then they decide if they want to go ahead and clear it. At least they've got someone that can do it. Because as you said, every Akashic record read is slightly different. Like my history and geography is absolutely rubbish, but I'll describe like what they're wearing in their past life, and they'll go, oh, yeah, that's so and so. It's like, yeah, that does sound about like so and so, doesn't it? Yeah, that's good. And then yeah, they'll come to me for all of that, and also to speak to their like loved ones on the other side. And I can also, what I found is, especially with the Akashic records, I can tune in to someone that they're wanting to find out about. So that seems to be the new thing, is that tell me about so and so and what are their intentions and da, 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 da. And it's just fascinating because I can feel what
Yeah,
they're like, their ness. It's really, really interesting.
absolutely. And then on that subject, I think it's quite interesting that the Akashic Record Keepers and Guides will often block us from finding too much about a specific person unless it's relevant. So when and people seem to be a lot more educated to that now. So when I
Mm,
receive somebody in front of me for a reading, they'll say, "Can I know about this one? And can I know how that's going to affect my life, etc."
hmm.
Most of the time we do get answers, but every now and again, um, that person wants to keep their privacy and that is relevant. So
Mm.
we don't get any answers. But
Yeah, yeah.
and like you say, I really thoroughly enjoy when we connect to the loved ones that have crossed over. Because obviously their energy changes a little bit when they cross over, but there's still so much that they've kept with them that
Mm.
are really good indicators for the person in front of me that I am actually with the correct person
Yeah.
and they are receiving that message. It's very, really, really life-changing for a lot of people. And a lot
Yeah.
of people feel like they had unfinished business with someone that crossed over and
Mm.
actually get to the bottom of that and find out what's the underlying message. Are there any hard feelings? And we
Mm.
can then move on from there.
Mm.
Or are there any things that need to be done, said, moved, shifted, transformed, expanded? I, c-
Yeah.
I could go on, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think the difference between, so when I say when I'm connecting to someone through their Akashic records to a loved one that's passed over, is because I'm in speaking to their record keepers and guides as well. It's a slightly different language than their loved one would have used. Like, say, if you're speaking to a medium, be speaking exactly the same language, but because you're in a they're talking in 11D, right? And then we're in 5D. So it's a much higher frequency. It's like coming through with unconditional love. So that's the kind of difference. But you've got that. I feel all that love and I'm like, oh, how do I express this? It's just so amazing. So that's a big difference as well.
Yes. Well, part of the training that I'm doing, in fact, on this weekend is working out what some of our loved ones did for us when they were alive. And if we had a bad relationship with them, in 3D terms, bad
Mhm.
relationship,
Mm.
it's often a sign that that person was kind of holding up a mirror for you or holding space for you to learn something about yourself so that you could grow. So it can feel like a very difficult relationship with
Yeah.
someone that actually, from a soul level, they are actually putting themselves in that difficult position for you. Not It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. So
Yeah.
that's a really good thing. And I like exactly the way you said that they come through with a slightly different tone because we're speaking to their soul directly, not to yeah, the
Yeah.
difficult human
Yeah.
part, the difficult part of that.
Mm. It's beautiful. I find when I do the channeled healing, it's much easier because quite often we have to go into forgiveness, and the guides and guardians will just come through and say, right, forgiveness is needed. And it's not even, they won't ask for it unless the person's ready, but that soul will then talk from the soul level,
Yeah.
really, really from the heart and soul. And I've always found that people are just able to just go, okay, I want to move on now, want to heal and move on.
Gosh,
Yeah.
as you said that, my whole body just relaxed and felt
Hmm. Mm.
I feel that as well. The record keepers and guides are constantly telling me that everything has been forgiven up there. We just
Yeah.
need to forgive it here in our physical 3D bodies. And that's traditionally the way the world was set up previously. It wasn't natural for everybody to just forgive. And that's why there's been wars and family wars and things that just could not let go. But
Mm.
luckily, that's one of the reasons why the Akashic Record Keepers and Guides have said that they've come forward en masse at the moment
Mm.
because humans were taking too long to get there, to forgive, to let go of those past hurts, to move on, to expand. So they've come forward now to help us understand what's going on
Mm.
beyond the veil so that we can see more clearly what is happening for us
Mm.
in this lifetime. Yeah,
I'd
absolutely.
say also that some people might want to do the Akashic Records. I'd say you have to be pretty spiritual to be doing the course that you do, and like the Merkaba Akashic Records and all the rest of the training. But people could use it just for their own kind of enlightenment, if you like, or going into 5D just to raise their vibration and also to help themselves. So quite often I'll go into my records and say if I'm feeling a bit wobbly about something coming up, or I've got something with work or a really major life decision, I'll make sure I'm very, very centered before I do it, because otherwise, you're not going to be connecting with anyone if you're not centered, not grounded, not cleared, not protected. But they always, always give just such beautiful advice. And even if they don't give you a do this and do that, they give you the kind of the strength and the holding that you need to go forward in whatever direction you want. So that's something that I have found personally has been priceless, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Mm.
life-changing, priceless. I know. Don't you think your life is just never ever going to be the same again once you've done that workshop? It's just
Yeah.
such a difference. It's like you're not even on the same planet anymore. You are definitely in, I mean, everything looks the same. You still see
Yes.
the same thing that everybody else sees, but it's just very different. And also, I would say when I was younger, I sometimes used to feel very alone because there weren't a
Yeah.
lot of people around me that were spiritual. I was definitely threw myself into 3D life
Yeah.
when I was younger. I chose that family to be born into, but now I will never ever feel alone again. It's just this amazing sense that I'm loved unconditionally, and the world is on my side finally. But
Mm.
yeah, so yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I'd say I had exactly the same experience. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. And it's so lovely. I think the people that do the Akashic record reading training and all those trainings with you, they become kind of like a soul family anyway, don't they? Which is lovely, of like-minded people.
They do.
Mm.
I think we do connect with people on a much deeper level when we do this journey together. And
Mm.
and I like that as well because now I don't feel alone physically either. Uh,
Yeah.
but there's a lot more people around. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm.
So is there any advice you would give anybody who was thinking about doing the Akashic Record training with me?
I'd say go for it. I was remembering how you said when we were doing the Akashic record training, just got a cat just flying, flying by, just saying hi. Um, that you can't fail, you can't get it wrong. And that's so important because the ego still will say, you can't read someone's records. You're not going to be in like connecting to 11D and the record keepers and guides and guardians. And it's like, is this my ego talking? Actually, yes, you can. You absolutely can. And with your guidance, because you take everyone through so beautifully and so thoroughly. That's the important thing,
Yeah.
that no one's left behind on that one. I'm sure you've never had anyone, that's actually gone through the training with you that can't do the Akashic records. And because everyone's different, it just pulls on your different strings, and it's lovely, really lovely, because I didn't know that I'd be like, find it really rewarding, or be able to contact, loved ones that have passed over, or be able to tune in to someone, especially in a past life, say with someone. It's like, oh yeah, you had a past life where this happened, that happened, that's why you've got the issues you have today. It's just a beautiful unfolding of your spiritual gifts. So even if you feel that you're already really spiritual and really connected, it can only help. It just will augment, but in all the right ways, and also through unconditional love. That's the big bit. There's a lot of courses out there where you're not connected to unconditional love. It's a lot of ego, and none of this is ego. It's just unconditional love.
Yes. Yes.
I feel that I've changed a lot since doing the courses with you, for sure. And I feel that it was a lot of decisions were very heart heartfelt decisions instead of the ego just constantly being in the room going, what are you doing? Do this, do that. Oh.
Well,
So yeah.
I certainly feel that way as well. I feel like the future is heart-led, and
Mm,
even if we look around ourselves and say, with the ego mind, and we say, you know, this is wrong and that's wrong and the other thing, if we actually looked inwards and looked at our heart and chose from a place of the heart, even if it looks like the people around us wouldn't agree with us, that's actually, frankly, their problem. Let's
yeah.
move to our heart space and do what's right for us.
Mm,
Yeah, it's just 10 out of 10 each time. 10
it
out of
is.
Maybe not
Mm,
at first, maybe not at first,
mm,
but certainly, secondly, it will be 10 out of 10. It's just that
mm,
first little hurdle to overcome, where it's actually normally everybody else's problem. It's not your problem, actually. And that's
mm,
what a lot of people do stay in ego driven paths because they are listening to the people around them or listening to ego mind and that sort of thing, instead of saying, actually, why am I here? This isn't
mm,
right. Let's just take all these nonsensical things down, all these boxes that have been put into, let's just break down the walls and say, who am I at a soul level? Let me move from my heart space. And then I notice, then the money comes, then the life comes, then the life
mm,
partner comes. But it's when we're trying to force our way into this little pigeonhole that everybody's put us into, that's when our life just can't go forward. It's just broken and continues to break up
yeah.
around us and it gets worse. And I
Mm,
always describe it as you can spiral down or you can spiral up. Where do you
mm.
want to go? So let's listen to our hearts and go forward.
Absolutely, yeah. I find that with clients or people that I'm reading for, it's the main focus is on getting people to accept themselves.
Yeah,
And as you're saying, and also put themselves first. And that's not, if you're a mom, you put yourself above and beyond your children. It's not about that. It's about what are my needs? What's my solace? What's going to feed my heart and soul? And then you become all of you. And also that the biggest lesson is to learn to love yourself, isn't it, in this lifetime, to just be complete with or without a partner, as in that you're complete by yourself and your partner is a beautiful add-on, but you are complete by yourself. And that's kind of my aim is with anyone that I work with, just letting them feel whole and loved and love themselves, because we've been taught not to love ourselves. It's bad, shouldn't be so selfish. And it's actually, if we have self-love and it's just source love that we all are, there's literally nothing wrong with it. You're just sharing just divinity with others.
absolutely. And then you become the best mum ever.
Exactly.
Yeah, so when you move, when you feed your own needs, then
Mm,
you actually become the best version of yourself. Exactly.
mm,
And I
yeah.
think there's also something else that comes up in the records a lot is that some people need to kind of be pushed back a little bit when it comes to sort of ego, pride, and boasting and stuff like that. But the type of people I work with, the sensitive ones, they get pushed too far back by
Mm,
society, by certain parenting styles. And because they're so sensitive and 90% of them are empaths, they
yeah.
absorb that frequency too much. So they end up being too timid, and they let the whole world walk all over them and they don't achieve what they want to do. Whereas we turn that upside down
Yeah.
bring them and help them step into their power by doing this type of training work, then they can achieve everything that they needed to achieve. And they can put up boundaries. And I've got the most beautiful boundaries in place. And I tell
Mm,
you what, I have never raised my voice ever. It just
mm,
sounds ridiculous if I do, so I don't
mm.
bother. But you
Don't
don't
need to. That's the important thing, right?
you don't need to. So someone like my mother, she has got these lungs on her and this foghorn voice that you can hear
Yeah.
reverberating down the road, whereas I'm softly spoken. And I still find that when I do this work and I step into my power, people hear me. That I don't need to blast into the world. I do it from a place of such strength
Hmm.
from the record keepers and guides. They give me that strength that I need to exert my energy into the world. And I know that if people are talking over me, somebody around me will stop them and let me speak. It's weird. It's like somebody in
Mm,
the crowd will stop that noise, and then I'm able to speak, which I never used to be able to do before. I would just sometimes what I used to do is quietly say to somebody in a big group meeting, whisper my thoughts, and somebody with a foghorn, and they would shout it into the meeting. So that's the way I used to have to speak, whereas now I can actually speak myself. That's very nice.
amazing, isn't it? I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really nice. And I think it's a good point about the ego is that I would say, yeah, I would imagine that pretty much anyone that you work with, most of the people that I read for, they're not coming from ego at all. They're coming from a place of what can I do better? Am I doing something wrong? Am I, why am I here? What's my sole purpose?
Yeah.
Yeah, but none of them really come from a place of, right, I want more money. I don't think they don't get drawn to me, which is good. I'm sure not to anyone that does the Akashic record reading. It just wouldn't work, would it?
It just they're not ready to listen yet.
No.
No, you're right. The type of people we attract are perhaps trying to do the 3D matrix world 9 to 5, and it's not working for them, and they can't understand why. They're following the same pattern as all these other people, and it's just not working because they're trying to force themselves, like I said, into this little box that society's trying to put them into, and it's just never going to work because they are so different at a soul level.
Yeah.
So when they do this workshop and activate their Merkaba and raise themselves up into 5D, but I would say I've been saying raise yourself up into 5D for a long time, but actually it's more like you're raising up 5, 6, 7 or higher because the Merkaba does actually activate up to the 12th
Mm, mm.
dimension when we do that, and it gives us access to it.
Yeah.
It gives us access to that if we want it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'd say that I definitely feel that when I do the channeled healing, for sure.
yes.
It's brought a much more depth to the healing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did hear somebody recently say something about how certain people are just not born with the codes to access that information, whereas I don't, that may be true, but
Mm,
you can make the change. If you activate your Merkaba energy
yeah.
body, then you can activate those codes that then allows you to move up. That's why I insist that everybody does that first before they,
Yeah,
you
absolutely. And
know.
I'd say with I'm sure that you taught us this as well, but the fact that we had our 5D light body activated in Atlantean times, and then at the fall of Atlantis, we chose to close it down. So we went to 3D. So those of us that survived the fall of it and went to different countries like Mexico, Egypt, had to go from 5D to 3D, which was really harsh. And it's taken more than 10,000 years for us to be able to reactivate it. So whenever I reactivate the Merkaba with anyone and then they go onto Akashic Records, it's like oh, I'm back. It's just so, I love it. I love it.
Me
And I
too.
think moving forwards, I mean, I'm asking for too much for everyone to do it just yet, but as we move forwards, it would be wonderful for people to be able to do that,
Yes,
to enhance their lives.
we need our own Harry Potter school, don't we?
We do.
With sorting
I
hat.
would love that.
Oh, me too.
I thought my special broom.
And bilocation as well. I do love the
Yes.
time turner that Hermione uses. But we once you've activated your Merkaba, you can do bilocation, and
Yeah.
that's been successful.
Mm,
Teaching that lately, and it's been really, really successful as well. Because I think the time that we're living in now has shifted
yeah.
so that we can do this work. So I think often back to my grandparents and my great grandparents, they were so stuck.
Can you imagine? It's like molasses at that time, wasn't it? The energy.
They couldn't move. They would have to go to, I don't know, an ashram somewhere and live there for 10 years to be able to get
Mm,
anywhere out of there. They had to live in that kind of a house. They had to drive that kind of a car. They had to do that kind of a job. And that was it. There was no,
very limiting.
yeah.
Yeah. Because
Where,
I've worked with sorry, go on.
yeah, no, I was just saying, I can really feel the shift now as to how
Mm.
different things are. Sorry.
Because there's been a few people recently, so I work with people of all ages, but I've started working with people, or people have been drawn to me who are younger and they are already spiritual, but they just go kind of thing.
And
It's like,
yeah,
whoa. And it is about the fact that nowadays the energy is moving so much faster as we're in
it,
5D, becoming 5D, that people can shift so much so quickly. I love watching people do this kind of work now because you just see them just go zoom, like a flower and blossom. Whereas with us, we've been doing this for a long time, it would have been like, okay, yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I do find a lot of youngsters come to me for their Merkaba to be activated, and they are drawn to that work because they say that's already happened to them, but it happened by accident.
Wow.
For, maybe it lasted 3 months or something, and then it switched off, and they don't know how to get it back on again.
Oh,
So
wow.
so then I show them how to permanently activate it and have control over their Merkaba so they can add beautiful programs to help them with whatever they need help with, and actually have control. So yeah, you're right. The youngsters are different to
Yeah.
us, which I love.
Yeah. I love that as well. I mean, they literally are like amazing, aren't they? So many amazing young people that are going to be changing and are already changing the world. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And
And so clever as well. It's like, wow.
just I talk about my nephew all the time. He's 9 and he just tells his parents, no, that's not happening. That's the old way. It's not happening. And I'm different and it
Oh,
doesn't suit me and it's not going to happen.
I
And
love
they
that.
could do nothing about it because he's not a bad child.
Yeah.
He's just saying that's not for me.
Hmm.
When they try to bring any of the old paradigms in to kind of squish him into a place. Nope, not
I've
happening.
got a child like that. Yeah.
And like you say, so clever. I'm always impressed if I know something that he doesn't know. I'm just like, oh, you got something right.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Amazing, amazing beings coming in, aren't there? And those that are teenagers and above. Very, very special energies at the moment. Yeah.
yeah. And we have to thank them for the changes that they're making because for some
Mm.
of them, it's not very easy.
No.
They've had to push back against the old paradigms and say,
Mm.
this is the future doesn't include this
No.
judge and extra judgmental. And judgment is such an interesting one because we have to physically judge in the third dimension to survive. We have to
Yeah.
judge if we're going to go too fast, we're going to judge if that person's going to harm us. But we have to get that balance just right because if we don't, then we get too judgy and that can go in, like on a sliding scale the wrong way and it can
Absolutely.
tip us, like I said, spiral down if we're too
Mm.
judgy and spiral up if we're not. But luckily a lot of people my age are talking about judgment now
Mm.
and it's hit them between the eyes that they've got to be careful about what they do, and who they judge and what's going on there. So yeah.
Mm.
Gosh, Moira, we could talk all day. An interesting subject.
I know, right? Don't
For
make me snort, Catherine. Don't make me snort.
um, okay,
Oh,
so one other question I just have to ask you is, what are your future aspirations in your work? Do you have anything? I know you mentioned you might be teaching the Akashic Records. That's exciting.
yeah. So soon, very, very soon. I'm ready. I always wait until I'm ready. It has to be the right time, basically. But yeah, I really, really wish to teach the Akashic Records, um, and also group healing as well. So I'm starting a group tomorrow. I'm doing crystal meditation, which is going to be as well like once a month. So that will be on my website soon. And if not, people can just contact me directly because it's just not there quite yet. The admin side is where I'm a bit rubbish. Healing side, I'm fine on. It's just the admin side I'm a bit rubbish. But yes, so obviously the channeled healing as well, and teaching. Basically, teaching is one of my main things, and I love teaching people who are already spiritual. But I love teaching people, for example, how to work with crystals. So newbies, if you want to call them that actually they're not newbies, but they think they're newbies, and you're teaching them how to help themselves and how they can meditate for themselves and just help them with their everyday life, just to make it a little bit easier, a little bit nicer. and also to wish to be, and I'm not talking about this in a depressive way, but to be happy to be on this earth, because there's so much volatility, and we just want to make it so it's just nice and smooth, a smoother ride, whether if you're in contact with your nurse, your soul source, it's going to make that ride a lot easier. And if you can come from a place of peace and calm instead of, because if you pick up on the world energy, I try not to, because I just get myself into a tiswas, can't watch the news, can't watch horror films, I'm a wuss basically. But I can feel it, and I do earth healing, but I just don't. It just because I'm an empath as well, right? It's just like it just saturates my field, and it's just like no, run.
No, I totally get that. I can't watch the news either. I haven't ever been able to watch a thr I can even a thriller. I have to be ready on Prime
Yeah,
and not
I'll
alone.
be
I never do it alone.
I'll be ready for like a nightmare in the middle of the night. I always warn people, do not make me watch a horror movie. I'll wake you up during the middle of the night if I get a nightmare.
But just to go back to what you were saying about sort of being grounded, the record keepers and guides are saying a lot at the moment that um, when we starseeds or our souls choose a physical human body, that means that from that day onwards, we are part of Mother Earth. She claims us. We
Yes.
are her babies.
Mm,
And a lot of starseeds make this mistake because we can feel it. We can feel we're not going to be here forever. We're
yeah.
just passing through. And a lot of starseeds live kind of above their head. They don't kind of trying to ground into their physical body.
Yeah.
The record keepers and guides say the more you ground into Mother Earth, the more she can give you her gifts.
Yeah.
Let her give you all her gifts. Let her hug you and hold
Mm,
you and love you because she does. She loves us tremendously.
yeah.
And that's why she's taken so long to move to 5D because she wants all of us to go with her. But we can't all go with her because not everybody wants to at a soul level, and
Yeah.
that's their choice, and that's fine. But just to talk back, pivoting back to the grounding and your lovely workshop on crystals, I think that is something that people would really benefit from to
Mm,
ground into Mother Earth and enjoy being here. I think
mm,
since I've started doing this work, I've actually enjoyed doing being here in the third
yeah.
dimension because
Yeah.
it's no longer the third dimension for me. I'm in 5D. I'm
Yeah.
in 5D looking at 3D, 3D,
Yeah.
seeing all those things. And it's much better. Whereas when I was living in my 3D body, mind consciousness, some years I used to think I just cannot have another year like that. That was so tough. It was so
Yeah.
difficult.
So many lessons and karma being slapped in your face.
God.
Like going through a car wash permanently, isn't it? With those bristles.
Bash, bash, bash.
Yeah, that's
How
exactly
much
it.
more can I take?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I definitely think that doing this work, activating the Merkaba, doing all the, I start also actually do start people off with karma clearing.
That's good. Yeah.
Because they come for a reading and I do that first.
Mm. Yeah, I
So
tend to do channeled healing with people first. So they tend to come for Akashic record reading first, then 1 to 3 channeled healings, then Merkaba. And
then,
then I would then go on to the Akashic records.
yeah,
Yeah.
they've got a nice set of healing, removed all that karmic stuff that doesn't need to be there. It's
Yeah.
outdated. It's
Yeah.
from the past. It's no longer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would say on your point of the grounding, I remember a lady that we both know and love, Estelle, saying once, the more grounded into Mother Earth you are, the higher the frequency you can go into. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I remember doing work with her, etc., and also with the Merkaba, the grounding to Mother Earth, and actually having that beautiful connection with Gaia. Because I was one of those that was always like, no, I don't want to be here. Oh, no, planet Earth, ooh, difficult, heavy, tough. But now I'm the same as you, where actually I love Mother Earth, love Gaia. We are part of her, we're supported by her, but we're also supported by Source. So likewise, equally by Source and by Gaia. So that's how I feel. Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Even the access practice meditation that I do before any record reading, we ground into Mother Earth, we ground into the sun behind the sun, so that we've got that beautiful energy flow moving up and down us and helping us feel grounded but activated at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
It's very,
lovely.
And it's very difficult to have the carpet pulled down from underneath you when you're very grounded.
I
It's
agree.
you could actually see it coming. You might see somebody trying to do that to you and be able to take steps and precautions to avoid
Mm,
it from happening to you. So that does make sense. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's amazing.
Okay. So, well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming along today
Sure.
and telling
Thank you.
everybody your experience and sharing all your wonderful experiences. So since COVID, yeah, so it's what 2005. So it's got to be a good 4 or 5 years that you've been doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, definitely. I can't remember the exact date at all. I was thinking, when was it? I thought Catherine might know.
Gosh, no, it's a bit of a
No,
blur.
you would no, not unless you looked it up. I'll find my certificate later, but yeah, it was that kind of time, and it was perfect timing. Actually, I loved it. I loved that bit of lockdown because I got to do what I loved doing.
Yeah,
And I got to then do more of it. So yeah, I mean, obviously there were conflicts in there as well, but generally, my soul was singing, shall we say?
absolutely. I mean, I loved every moment with you, Mary.
Yeah, ditto, ditto.
That's really, really good. Okay, well, I do hope you have a very magical rest of your day, and
Thank you. You
we
too.
will speak soon.
Yeah.
Okay.